If you're a company or a partnership or a charity receiving income from the United States and you are not a US tax citizen, then you have to complete a form W-8BEN-E form. You need to give that to your payer, and you need to do that to stop having 30% tax withheld at source. Hi folks, my name is Mahmood. I'm an accountant of over 26 years who's loved helping businesses like yours make more profit, save tax, save time, improve what goes on between your ears, your money mindset, and have the business that you aspire to have. What's not to love about that? Now, in last week's video, I talked to you about individuals or sole traders receiving income from the US, whether that's from clients in the US, whether you've got shares, dividends, pensions, rental property income, whatever, and what you must do and the reasons why you must do that. I also showcase an example of what that form looks like for that group, that individual or sole trader. So check out the video that I did last week to see what it looks like. Now in this week, I'm going to focus on the second main form that most companies, most corporations, partnerships will complete if they're not US tax resident citizens. And that's called, wait for it, a W-8BEN-E form. Now as a heads up, by the way, in the US, a single director, single shareholder company is not actually recognised as a corporation in US eyes. And if you are going to complete the W-8BEN-E form and you want to be recognised accordingly, there are 2 additional forms to complete, but more of that in the video later on when I work through and show you through what a worked example is like. Now, in the next few moments, I'm going to show you on the screen what a W-8BEN-E form looks like. I'm going to populate that with the most common answers that are given for entities that are registered outside the US as typically companies. In my experience, that tends to be the most popular one, what they must complete. We'll make references to how you complete that, and we'll go through that. And I'll also mention at the end about what you need to do if you are a single director, single shareholder company, and what you've got to do. Now, make sure you complete the form, send them off to your payer, and then you can receive all that money without having any deductions made. That's got to be good news. Okay, folks, let's get down and dirty. Let's look at the form that you will complete if you're not a sole trader or an individual receiving money from the US, whether that's from clients, whether that's from shares, dividends, rental property, capital gains. This is the form for you to complete. So part 1, question 1, your full name, do not use abbreviations. The LTD, the type of entity you are, can be abbreviated if that's what's commonly referred to. If you want to use the full limited spelling, that's perfectly fine. Question 2, the country of incorporation where your company has been created. If it's a partnership, same thing. If it's from England, Scotland, Ireland or Wales, United Kingdom is used. Do not abbreviate it to UK. Question 3 is normally disregarded unless your payment, the money that you're to receive, goes to a third party. In most situations for UK companies, you'll tend to ignore that. Question 4, what type of entity, what type of business structure do you have, are you? And in most cases, it will be a corporation, which is what we might call a company in the United Kingdom. As a special heads up, folks, if you are a single director, single shareholder type business, then tick corporation, but there's 2 additional forms to complete, by the way, because in the US eyes, they do not recognise single owner, single shareholder companies as what they call LLCs or limited liability corporations. So tick the box. I'll mention the 2 additional forms at the end. Question 5, we're getting into abbreviation land here. Now the main abbreviations that you need to be aware of is what's called FATCA or FATCA. FATCA just stands for the Foreign Account Tax Compliant Act. So when at parties you want to drop that in, you can impress people, though probably bore them at the same time. Now the one that is normally ticked by UK companies is the box that says active NFFE. The abbreviation NFFE just stands for non-financial foreign entity. Question 6 about your address. Typically it's your registered office address. So there we've got I Hate Numbers Tower, 101 Wellbeing Avenue, Leicester, Lima Echo 13 5TH. Please note that's a made up name of address. Obviously I Hate Numbers isn't made up, but the address is, so be very careful. Hopefully nobody's got a postcode like that. Country, again, do not use abbreviations. United Kingdom, and that covers England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales. If you do have a different address away from your registered office, so typically it might be your accountant is being used as your registered office, your accountant's address, use 7, your mailing address if it's different from above. Question 8 is if you've got a tax identification number in the will typically come up. The one that's normally completed by most people is 8B. So the question that will be completed in question 8 is typically B, which is your TIN, which stands for your tax identification number. And if you're a company, then typically that will be your corporation tax reference. I skipped a large amount of the W-8BEN-E form because a large amount of it will not apply to most applicants here. Obviously, if you're a financial institution, it will apply, but most people that I'm dealing with, this will not apply to them. So let's go on to part 3. And this is where you're claiming what's called treaty benefits. So what they're basically saying in this section is, under what basis are you claiming exemption from withholding tax itself? Secondly, if you are claiming exemption, tell us which part of the tax treaty between the US and the UK applies. And lastly, tell us the rate you want applied. So 14A, tick box 1, that the beneficial owner is a resident of the United Kingdom. The next section you tick that it meets what's called the ownership and base erosion test. It's ticked by most companies is to establish that there is a bona fide commercial and economic connection between you, the UK and the US to get entitlement to treaty benefits. Question 15, complete this to quote the relevant articles from the UK-US tax treaty by which you're claiming relief from withholding tax. Article 7 refers to business profits. Article 12 refers to business royalties. If you have other examples of income, dividends, capital gains, rental income, then you must need to quote the relevant article. Make the claim for the relevant percentage of withholding tax. So for business profits and royalties, I've quoted 0. And lastly, that's a form of wording that you need to adopt and add into the form. Notice the particular references, the emphasis and the quoting of the United Kingdom resident company. You don't carry out business in the United States and you haven't got a permanent establishment there. Those are key statements. If you don't complete them, the form will be rejected. Having gone through all that, the last section, part 30, the certification. So sign off where it says sign here. Obviously make sure that you tick the box accordingly. So you're either a director of the company or shareholder. So typically the director will complete that section, print your name and put the date in, and remember to use the US format of date, not the UK or other formats of date. So month, day of the month, and then the year using the 4 digits. If you are a single director or shareholder company and you've ticked the corporation box, there are 2 additional forms that you must complete. They are available from the IRS website. I'll put a link in the show notes, the notes that accompany this video. SS4, application for employer identification number. You can call them directly and they can assist you with the completion. And additionally, form F8832, which is called the entity classification election. If you are more than 1 director, 2 shareholders, etc., you do not need to complete this. Remember, single director, single shareholder companies are not recognised as limited liability corporations in the eyes of the IRS. Folks, I hope you found this useful. Good luck with all your form filling. If you get any comments or feedback, I'd love to hear from them accordingly. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you don't miss out on future episodes.